Have you ever been on vacation somewhere in Central America or maybe even South America? Been on your nice modern tour bus on the way from the airport to the resort, and as you exit the city and look out the window, you see a big warehouse space for rent? You jokingly say to your buddy, I bet we could fit all our projects in there. The rent is probably in our budget too. Well, this is sort of like that. Or at least it's me as a foreigner renting a warehouse. Of course, the difference is that I live here full time, and I'm not on vacation. But wait now, let's back up a bit and I'll explain. You see, over the last few years, while I've been living down here in Brazil, I've been building and exporting Combi, well, VW buses, as kind of a hobby. Actually, I haven't been the one doing the work. I just manage the project. Buy the bus, the parts, and find various shops to do the work. You know, you got your engine guy, panel beater, paint guy, upholstery guy, wiring guy. You get the idea. The problem is that each time I drop a bus off at a shop and pay the deposit, maybe 10–20% of the service price, this is to cover the material cost and secure my place in line, I run a risk. And that risk is this. I pay the deposit, leave the bus there, and it sits and sits and sits for months and nothing happens. The guy just keeps my money and tells me that he'll get to it eventually. This has already happened multiple times now at various shops, and it's very frustrating dragging a bus from one shop to another, sacrificing my deposit, and hoping that the next guy will actually work on it. Also, if the job actually does get done, a lot of the time the quality of work is so bad that I would rather have just done the job myself. But I don't have the space or the time. Until now. So, let's start looking for a shop space. When I initially started looking for a workshop space, I was looking in Sao Paulo, because that's where I lived at the time. This is the first place I checked out. It's down the street from my apartment. Not too bad, but only enough room for 2 or maybe 3 cars at the most. And the whole back half of the building was dedicated to 5 different storage rooms, which I don't really need. Also, people live directly above the shop, and I don't really like working below where someone lives, even though it's very common here. The second place was a guy who was retiring and looking to sell up and move on his whole workshop. This place would have been perfect. It has lifts, a paint booth, and tons of space, but it was too expensive for me to get into on my own. So, I found a partner, an auto body shop nearby. However, in the end, the deal didn't work out. The auto body guy fell through, and I was left hanging. This one was pretty nice, but just too expensive. It was up for rent forever. I looked at a few other places in Sao Paulo, but the problems were always the same. Either out of my budget, too small, or in a very rough area. And I don't want to be out on the street at night, locking the place up at the end of each day, alone, in a rough area. That's how you get lead poisoning. Also, there's another factor that shouldn't be left out. Sao Paulo is a huge, sprawling metropolis full of danger and fun. But lately, mostly just danger. And after living there for 4 years, I was done. So me and the family decided to move on to a new city, a smaller, nicer place. Here's the first place I checked out in the new city. It used to be some kind of high production clothing factory. It has been empty for a very long time. I made multiple offers on it. We fought over the price for a whole month. It has no running water, no working electrical system, multiple large holes in the roof, and generally needed a ton of work. Here's one side. So as you can see, it's like super rough. The power is like running along the wall here. And pretty much we would need to break down a few walls, paint everything. Like all these windows are broken. Roof looks like it has a lot of damage, but anyways, then there's this whole side as well. This roof is really shot. And then there's like this super weird tiny room over here. So I guess yeah, that would be like a bathroom or something. And then this area. And then another sort of like garage area here. At least like the roof, the roof in all areas is pretty high, the ceiling. This would be like another entranceway that goes out to the front. In the end, we couldn't make a deal. Maybe it was for the best. This one was right off the highway. I didn't like it, however. There was way too much highway noise. It would be impossible to film anything there.
Have to see if it has.
This place was right next to a few auto shops. Would have been a great place, but the entrance was awkward, and the actual shop building was quite small. Also, it was literally right next to a restaurant kitchen, which I didn't like, even though the owner didn't seem to mind.
Let's face above. So, overall, not too bad. The only downside is right here on the other side of this wall is a kitchen for a restaurant.
Went to look at this big place. It had been a mechanic shop for 15 years and just came on the market. It was a bit far from my house, but overall a great option. It rented before I could get an offer in, unfortunately.
So here's another one that I'm looking at right now.
This was a reasonably sized place downtown that was in my budget, but there was no parking, and the entrance was awkward for vehicles. It was more of a place to start a commercial business, not a mechanic shop. Here's a great option. Lots of space and right in my budget. Unfortunately, it was right next to a busy road, and while I was considering this point, it got rented. This one was too far. This one was great, a bit run down, but I made an offer anyways. However, the next day, I found this great place. Not too big, not too small, not too far away. Secure, working water and power, everything seemed great. I made an offer, we drew up a rental contract and did an inspection, and I had to back out of the deal at the last minute, which was very frustrating. And after that, I kind of gave up for a little bit. Until a few months later, I was on Facebook Marketplace and saw a place that could work. It ticked all the boxes, just like the other place, but maybe not quite as nice, a little more rustic. We worked out a deal, and that was it. It needs work. The walls are cracked, the roof has a few holes. I will have to take down a whole wall and install a huge sliding door. The electrical system consists of various wires hanging out of the walls and the floor, but the water works, and it's in a great location, or at least it's in Rio, Brazil, as I call it. More on that in the next video when we start cleaning and fixing. So that is that. After months of searching, changing cities, and various fruitless negotiations, I finally have a place to start building buses and maybe even work on some other mechanical projects of my own. Join me in the next video as we start to clean up, move in, and face the challenges of putting together a workshop in a place that many would consider to be the third world. Thanks for watching.